Welcome everybody here tonight. It's November 26, 2019. I can't believe we're going into 2020 here soon. It's going to be pretty cool, 2020. We're going to all see this very clearly, and it's going to be very interesting. Today we're going to be talking about the Christ consciousness and getting ourselves into that. And the assignment for all of us is I focus my mind and emotions on Christ consciousness, compassion, joy, and love for all of creation. Or they also call it the Law of One. Now, I read a book a while back about the Law of One, and it was quite fascinating because it talked about how the universe was created by the Creator, the Almighty I Am that I Am. And we were created, and we have what they call the Mighty I Am Presence that is our Oversoul. And this was created by the Creator. And by making that connection with our Mighty I Am Presence, we actually join with the Law of One. So we're going to talk about that tonight. In order to embody Christ consciousness, we must learn how to live the Law of One and the laws of God. Now, you know, we're living in a world where people have given up on God. They literally just think we're here. They become atheists. They don't even believe in God. And it's interesting because, you know, as a little boy, I knew God existed. In fact, I had my first experience with God when I was just probably 4 years old. And my grandfather was a very spiritual man, and I was just a little kid, and I had ran out into the street at my grandparents' house. We had these skateboards, and my skateboard went clear out in the street, and I went out to get this skateboard, and a car came and literally just grazed past me as a little kid. And it was like all of a sudden I just knew God had protected me, because literally if I'd have been a couple of inches further, I'd have been hit and who knows what. But I felt an angel push me back a little bit, or an energy, and I knew that was an energy from God that was protecting me. So we have these kind of experiences that bring us into an enlightenment that yes, there is something more going on. And a lot of people have shut this down. Now, it's not totally their fault. As I studied this lesson, you know, and it was talking about the DNA and how years ago, you know, thousands and thousands of years ago, the Anunnaki actually altered our DNA and made us more susceptible to impressions, dumbing us down in our ability to cognate and our ability to control our emotions. They made us so that we wanted to fight more genetically and altered our DNA. Now, this is an interesting concept that I really hadn't thought about until Saint Germain brought me the 24-strand DNA manifestation. When he brought the 24-strand DNA manifestation forward to us, he mentioned a lot about how we started out with 24 strands of perfected DNA that would make these mortal flesh and blood bodies last for almost 1,000 years. When we became dummied down, we lost a lot of our abilities because of the loss of the DNA, And we actually were altered in our DNA by these reptilians known as the Anunnaki. Now, these Anunnaki controlled our civilization for years, and they literally suck out our energy through our fear, through our warmongering, through our rapage, pillage, doing things that are not godlike. And we became these species who were very mean to each other and treated each other with no respect at all, and we didn't respect life, love, or anything. Now, in order to get it ready for the ascension, we have to reverse all that. And so doing the 24-strand DNA manifestation actually brings perfected DNA back into our body, and we eliminate the tainted DNA with the Anunnaki implants and become more perfected human beings. Inner sustainability is integrated by the law of one. Spiritual ascension is the ultimate energetic sustainability when we self-source from within our soul and monad, or our oversoul connection. Our personal spiritual source field connected directly with the Christos energy. Ascension is about moving our consciousness from one reality to another. Since reality is a dimension, we are moving into a dimension of light and love and plasma. Now, I know this is a little difficult for people to understand, but we will help you to understand these things. The crystal, or Christos, is referred to as the first level of creation that is closest to God's source in the universal time matrix. The cosmic crystal, or Christ consciousness field, which holds the original divine blueprint of which the eternal living life currents are created and perpetually generated. The Christ crystal is also a mathematical program and a specific living light manifestation template. Now, the original tones of creation were Ka, Ra, Ya, Sa, Ta, La. The crystal star, or eternal crystalla, Merkaba body. Now, we'll talk a little bit about these Merkabas and how DNA, when it forms itself, it actually creates a pyramid and then collapses again on itself and makes a Merkaba. Now, these Merkabas spin and generate energy. So that's one of the ways we self-create energy. The prana was created by God, and we can breathe God's prana in, but we can also perfect our DNA and create our own energy. So this is known as the tri-wave or trinity form of unity consciousness, rather than a bi-wave form of polarity consciousness. A part of our ascension plan is to embody this trinity energy within ourselves, the unity consciousness, so known as the cosmic Christ or crystal code. Our self-sovereign divine right as God human beings is to be freed from this time-space matrix, the reincarnation will, as the full embodiment of the crystal race. So that's where we're going. Now, I'm going to go back to these so you can see these a little better. Oh, let me take this, go back here. We're going to share. Sorry about that. Okay, let me find the share thing here. Okay. Yeah, boy, for some reason the share is not showing up. There's store. Okay, speaker view. Maybe I can find this here. Let's see if I can find this. You do all have the PowerPoint sent to you. For some reason, I am not finding the share thing. I've got the chat, but I don't want that. Okay, share. I found it. Good, good, good. So let's go here and do the slideshow. Sorry about that. I should have been showing the slides from the beginning. We'll go on. This is the slide we just talked about. Now, the Karas Yasata Allah, or crystal body, or mighty I am body, it's a frequency, tone, and geometry that is recorded in the matrix of our DNA signal that is being imprinted in new ways with the crystal tones. And these tones are a large Aurora project that has to do with re-encryption of the flesh and therefore reconfiguring the DNA elements within our human body to be resonant with the frequencies of the diamond sun body, which is this body we're going to move into in the 5th dimension. So we're going to go from the Karasata Allah body, crystal mighty I am body, and we're going to move into a higher body. And these 7 tones of the original creation are broken down into that crystal. And as we hold a piece of a larger schematic that fits into the crystal body, the Diamond Sun Christos blueprint, we're going to add a different tone with the emphasis on the 6th syllable, and it's going to go from ah to ha. I know that sounds kind of strange, but I'm going to play you a little tune real quick and give you a sound of what it sounds like. Hopefully this will be loud enough you'll be able to hear it and understand it. Okay, the reason I played that is there's people who listen to this and it literally transforms them and brings them into a higher consciousness. Now, we're going to talk a little bit about the quarantine body that has the implants, and we'll go into that. I've got to get rid of this little thing off of here for a sec, and we'll move to the next slide. Now, quarantine 666 is a genetic block that forced our soul consciousness to reincarnate over and over and over again. That's where the Bible talks about the seal of the 666 needing to be removed from us so that we don't continue through the reincarnation 3D plane. And the planets in an appropriate dimensional field will reclaim our missing pieces and soul parts as well as we'll learn how to evolve back into the wholeness through the natural laws of God, or the law of one. However, because of the timelines, the Anunnaki and Nephilim took advantage of this quarantine by forcing human souls into a reincarnation circle, and because of their control mechanism, put us in a false ascension matrix. And so this quarantine was originally placed to protect the other realms, planets, and human beings themselves from such fragmentation created an endangerment to our consciousness. And it was a benevolent method to reassemble the missing DNA tones and soul parts that have been lost or damaged in the trauma of previous life cycles. Now, this genetic block became a curse for humanity over the last 26,000 plus years, and it was passed down through the genetic lines through interbreeding with the Anunnaki, which further digressed human DNA. The Anunnaki and Nephilim hybrids became carriers of this genetic block, and because of their disregard of the law of one, the natural laws of God, and it intended genetic manipulation for human enslavement, this agenda further advanced the DNA distortions. Over time, the distortions manifested by splitting between elemental physical body layers, the subconscious mind, and lower and higher aspects of the astral identity. Saint Germain, through the crystal tones and perfected 24-strand DNA reconfiguration, removes those DNA splits and mutation curse. So this is why it's so important to do our 24-strand DNA every day and then go on to the 48 strands, because as we go into higher dimensions, we'll need even more perfected DNA. So clearing the miasms, in homeopathy we call them miasms, and a lot of them are due to sexually transmitted diseases. Now, I found out a long time ago that STDs are incorporated into our DNA through the false matrix, and they come through the distorted thought forms of sexual depravity that we have, and created these sexually transmitted diseases. So every disease that we humans have were created through a misalignment of not only our DNA but our thought forms. Our thoughts affect the DNA. They found that higher thoughts, higher emotions will expand the DNA and make it stronger and turn on the good parts of the DNA. Whereas the opposite is true if we have bad thoughts, bad actions, bad emotions. It actually contracts the DNA and it can cause harm to the DNA. So through the law of one and integrating our spiritual identity, once enough of us humans are proficient at this, and that's why we're teaching these lessons, is to get us proficient enough to get us back into higher consciousness, as it will shift our DNA and it will remove that 666 seal, which means the person has achieved a process of planetary ascension, no longer requiring us to reincarnate, because we've overcome the schisms and the miasmas and all the problems that we created as humans. And we were led astray by these Anunnaki and Nephilim, who were the fallen angels. So in order to get back into the law of one, it's a comprehension and acceptance